Good morning, Chair and new Vice Chair, and welcome to Graham and his team as well, and some of the new members, which hopefully in the break we'll get a chance to do introductions and then start explaining some of our unique jargon and terminology. So we'll try and keep within the bounds of plain English today. Thanks for the chance to comment, Chair, and welcome obviously to your first meeting with Edgar, and we look forward to building on the relationships we've enjoyed hitherto and recognise how important it is. And clearly, it's good to see Graham here today. We've got some plans for next year in terms of keeping the momentum in relation to tackling organised and paramilitary crime, which you referenced and may well come up later in the questions, and how we align the skill sets of both organisations. So we'll leave that to a bit later. I'm conscious that this has been a particularly busy month, and it's referenced in my report. And I go back to a phrase that I think I've described more than once, that I actually put in my application form for this job a while ago, about this place being a unique police service with unique challenges. And I think this month just re-emphasises that, given the breadth and complexity of issues that we're asking officers and staff to deal with. Clearly, I sit before you here today at the end of a week where, amongst other things, we have the tragic death of Matthew McCallan. And obviously, I would extend, as Chief Constable and on behalf of the senior team, our condolences to his family, friends and supporters. Clearly, there's been a lot of public interest in what has gone on that's led up to Matthew's death. It's now engaged the coroner in an inquest, and equally we made a voluntary self-notification to the Ombudsman, so we'll probably be somewhat limited in what we can now say to members in public or private today. But to reassure you that there is contact with his family, and there's family liaison arrangements in place as we now begin the investigation into his tragic death. As you say yourself, I think this month was defined as well as being clearly unique in the UK, where we have seen two determined, incredible attacks to kill or injure police officers and staff in the Northwest. And clearly, given the progress we've made over the last couple of years, it's a worry. But I can again assure you that from briefings I've had with Mark and colleagues about the scale, the pace and the impact of the organisation in terms of investigation. We had a really good meeting with the Secretary of State the other week, where in fact the senior investigating officer and his team, and also superintendent from the district, I think did themselves proud in terms of the determination, but the reflection of the effect of these attacks, not just on us as an organisation, but some of the sentiment that's come out of the community in terms of support for policing. So a sort of a double-edged sword there. I was myself out that weekend and some subsequent days, and I think sometimes when you go into the organisation and see us in those particular times of scrutiny and stress for different reasons, I just pay tribute to the stoicism and commitment I saw firsthand from people in all sorts of different roles that were responding to the threat that was in front of them. And again, it's just testament to their resolve and commitment. There'll be a number of matters today, I think, that are flying around in the public domain, particularly in the last week, that, as you say yourself, Chair, may limit, whilst I know there are issues of public interest, because of ongoing proceedings in various fora, we may be limited what we can say at this point in relation to a number of those, either in public or private, but we'll see how we go. But clearly, again, the main issue of strategic concern to us remains the budgetary pressures, and we will be able to try and give some context to where we find ourselves. But clearly, the allocation sort of helps us balance the budget for this year, albeit it's a reducing one. But I think the signal we'd like to send is that whilst we will work within our means this year and still see reductions in officer numbers and then what we're able to do, I think the bigger debate is starting to come as we sort of understand the budget into next year about how difficult that is going to be, either in reflection of the Herculean efforts that Pamela and the team have made to reduce non-pay costs this year have been remarkable, but in a sense we're just maxing out the credit card to next year because we're pushing some of that delay, for example, renewal of building works and things, into another financial period. We can't keep kicking the can down the road forever, so I think the potential problems will be far, far worse into the new financial year, and we will touch upon that. Clearly, we've made commitments this year to protect call handling and neighbourhood policing, although certainly in relation to neighbourhood policing, we will be coming to you soon with evidence once we've agreed it about degradation in numbers. So the debate will shift from headcount to what sort of service the public can start to get, and try to give you that clarity you asked for. You will see from the report itself and from a whole host of social media and outbound sort of contact with the press and public over the last few days, we've launched our Christmas crime reduction campaign, which has 4 themes, which we'll come back to later under the banner "'Tis the Season." We've seen a crackdown on wanted offenders over the last few months, which has brought nearly 1,000 people to book. And also, yesterday, I thought some really good work led by Lindsay Fisher, part of Mark's team in the Public Protection Branch, to do a day of action targeting people in the space of violence against women and girls. And as you probably saw yesterday, 39 arrests across the country and some really constructive messages and publicity. On the horizon, as we sit here, alongside, if you like, the breadth of normal policing challenges, Chris is beginning planning in relation to our role that we can see in either facilitating picketing and protests linked to industrial disputes, or indeed where we're being asked to step in to support the role of other 999 emergency services as they go on strike. And again, be another example of how our own workforce will start to get stretched in the unique times that we face. Clearly, as we end the year, it's been a year marked by various anniversary and events, not least of 100 years in policing, and you've seen over the last few months through either individual events or things that members have been able to support, some of the reflections that we've done, including the announcements of the museum, which continues at pace. Looking forwards to early into next year, we may touch on that particularly in private session, the forthcoming inspection from His Majesty's Inspector of Constabulary. There's clearly some important themes in there which will see inspectors in with us in late January and then in February, and we'll probably comment on some of that as we go into questions later. And then finally, before we sort of pass the baton back, it's a chance to, apart from welcome new members, also welcome everyone to a safe and happy Christmas and wish them a prosperous New Year. So, thank you.